Hi, and welcome to my SQL course. My name's Mike. I'm based here in Melbourne, Australia. I've had just over 20 years experience working with SQL in the field of application support and development. So this course covers the SQL language insofar as it will give you enough tools out of the SQL toolbox to design queries, database queries to extract data, in ways of sufficient sophistication to cover most real-world applications. Those applications may be supplying data sets to other applications, or .NET applications, or web applications, and or to report writers. What we're going to do is we're going to draw a good deal, not just on the language itself, the core of the language, but on my experience in terms of best practice, in terms of the most efficient way to do things, and the way to cope with the most annoying error messages, how to get around them, and how to solve them. So this course is ideally designed for anybody who's just getting into SQL. We really are starting from a zero level, and by the end of it you'll have enough skills to take on most real-world tasks such as report writing, and it's also perfect for people doing university courses who may be having to learn SQL as part of a wider development course such as .NET or something like that. So with that, I hope you enjoy my course, and let's get stuck into it. So welcome to SQL for Absolute Beginners, and our topics are going to be: what is SQL? What is the SQL language? What does SQL stand for? What is a database? What makes up a database? The tables and columns. The various column types. Start off with a couple of simple SQL queries, and we're going to do operations involving text and numeric values, manipulating the text, manipulating some numeric values, some calculations. How to refine down our selected data with the where clause, an important part of SQL. Some basic SQL functions, and the basics of how to select from multiple tables using joins. So we're going to go through setting up our training environment. We're going to download and install SQL Server Express, that is the database engine that we're going to be doing our training in. We're also going to download and install SQL Management Studio, that is a front-end management and query software in which we're going to be doing our queries and querying this database, the AdventureWorks sample database, which we're going to download and set up on SQL Server Express. So what does SQL stand for? Well, it stands for Structured Query Language. And it's called a query language because it's a language we use for writing queries. But it's structured in that it's constructed almost like a plain English sentence. Like most sentences, it's got clauses, and they can join together to form basically a question, a plain English, almost like a plain English question that we can direct to the data source. Now, a quick word about the actual SQL language that we're going to be learning. There are different versions of the SQL language out there. For example, Microsoft's version of SQL is called T-SQL. Oracle's version is called PL/SQL. Now, between these languages, there are some differences, but these differences are more in advanced programming commands. In terms of the fundamentals of just doing queries, selecting data, they're essentially the same, and they're the same because most SQL languages out there, including the two I've just mentioned, they all comply with the ANSI standard with respect to the basic querying commands and the fundamentals of the query language. So in terms of those most common languages or implementations of SQL, Microsoft's and Oracle, in terms of the fundamental commands for selecting and querying, they are the same throughout. And that fundamental part of SQL that is common throughout is called ANSI SQL. So that's what we're going to be training. ANSI actually stands for American National Standards Institute, in case you're wondering. So that's every time you hear the word ANSI SQL, and a lot of the commands we're going to be learning will be ANSI compliant. And if you actually Google them and look up Microsoft's website about SQL, you will see that this command and that command are all ANSI compliant. So everything that we're going to be learning is ANSI compliant, which means it is usable, that skill is transportable across all platforms.